Okay, I'd like to, my name's Diana White. I'm the Deputy Director of the Community Development Department for the City of Altoona and the CDBG Manager. I'd like to welcome everybody to the second public hearing for the city's 2025 to 29 Consolidated Plan and 25 Annual Plan application. I'm here today with Eric Lachansky, who is the Director of Community Development for the city, as well as Jim Trexler, who is our home program manager. And with us today is David Jordan, who is our consultant from Urban Design Ventures out of Homestead, Pennsylvania, and he will be conducting the hearing tonight.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. As Diana said, my name is Dave Jordan. We have been working on this plan for a number of months now. Some of you may recall that the federal budget was delayed in being approved this year, which typically we would be doing this around about May 15th. But because the budget was not finalized until, almost the middle of May, we did not get allocations on what the city would be receiving as far as CDBG funds and home dollars for the coming fiscal year FY25. So we are now to the end point of the consolidated planning process. Over the last several months, we have been meeting with a variety of organizations and folks in the community to get an understanding of what folks feel are the needs in the community so that we could then incorporate their wishes, wants, and desires into the consolidated plan. And with that, the city had sent out applications to various organizations to get an idea of what they would like to see funding for their projects, what dollar amounts they were looking for. When those applications came in, they were reviewed by the city and our staff to determine what projects were eligible and fundable with CDBG and or home dollars. And now that we've reached this point, this, as Diana mentioned, is the second public hearing. Consolidated plans are required by HUD every 5 years. Within that period of time, the municipality must do what is also called an annual action plan each of those 5 years. So this year is an annual action plan submission year along with an annual action plan. Did I say annual action plan twice? I meant consolidated plan and an annual action plan. Within that, the consolidated plan is what becomes a roadmap for a municipality to determine what the needs are in the community and how they can address those needs over the next 5 years. And then each year of that period, as I've previously mentioned, they must prepare an annual action plan. That annual action plan then determines exactly how the municipality intends to expend its home and or CDBG funds. I say home and or CDBG, the reason being not all municipalities that receive CDBG funds also receive home funds. City of Altoona is one that does get both funds from both pots of money. This year, we are looking at receiving $1,536,368 in CDBG funds with anticipated program income of $80,000 and home funds of $266,000, $494,073 for a total of $1,882,862.73. $1,882,862.73. Why is it 73 cents? We don't know, but HUD has decided that for the home program, you have to include whatever cents they have determined that you're going to receive as part of your home allocation. And it needs to be reflected in your documents. As part of the process of putting together the consolidated plan, we came up with 6 program areas: housing, Let me make sure I get these correct. Housing, public services, community facilities, economic development, planning and administration, and I'm sure I'm missing one other.
Slum light removal.
Pardon?
Slum light removal.
That is part of the actual activities, and what we have done is we look at trying to be as comprehensive as possible when we're putting together the goals and strategies in the various activity areas, so that if something is not being funded in a given year, there is still the ability to do a particular project if it was listed in the consolidated plan as a goal and activity, so that a substantial amendment would not be required by the municipality to add that to the consolidated plan. Speaking of amendments, the city is in.
You only named 5, is there another?
I'm trying to find where it's at in here.
Bill, up here in the handouts, I have a summary, okay, and you can see the various, plus on top of that.
Here we go. I got them right here.
Okay, I do want to just interject for the public that this large document that is the consolidated plan as well as the amendment are available online at the city's website. It's www.altoonapa.gov.
The priorities are housing, homelessness, other special needs, community development, economic development, and administration and planning.
Okay, they're a little different than what you said originally. Housing, you had said public services, that's not one.
Public services is under typically the community development priorities.
Okay, could you just name the whole thing?
Yeah. So we're looking at housing, homeless, other special needs, community development, economic development, and administration and planning. And then within each one of those major goals or major priority areas, there are additional goals. And as I mentioned, we are looking at those goals being rather broad, so that if something would come up that was not being funded in a given year, but the next year could be an activity, the city would not have to do an amendment to its annual action plan and consolidated plan. When you're doing an amendment, there is a 30-day review period. So with the consolidated plan, the document was put together. There was a public hearing to address and find out what the needs were in the community. We started putting the plan together. Once the plan was together, then it was advertised when this public hearing was going to be held. And prior to today's public hearing, and tomorrow is the last day of display, the document was put on public display for 30 days to allow the public to have the opportunity to review the documents. Then we come into today, we're having the public hearing, so we can take additional input. If there is any substantial information that's provided today, it can be incorporated into the consolidated plan after it goes off display tomorrow, and then it goes before council on Monday evening for their approval for submission to HUD. The submission to HUD needs to be no later than August 16th. The intention is to provide it to HUD on or before August 15th. And then HUD has 45 days for review to then come back with any additional questions or to inform the city of the approval of their document.
What about the annual plan? Is that?
The annual plan is all part of this. The annual action plan is incorporated into this 200-page document. And then, as I believe I previously mentioned, the city is in the process of also completing and adding into this a substantial amendment for A Street, the sidewalk project that is going to be done on A Street, and that will incorporate dollars from a couple of different prior years that have not been expended into this year's annual action plan in order to be able to complete improvements on A Street for sidewalk improvements.
Is the copy of the annual plan available at this point?
Yes.
Yes, so that, like I said, it's on the website rather than, the latest edition is available on the city's website, right on the front page. It'll say public hearing or public notice, and then it has 3 documents. One is our advertisement, one is the consolidated plan, which includes the annual plan, and then the last thing is the amendment to the 24 year.
Would you be able to go over the annual plan, one item at a time, so I can ask questions about it? If there's something?
I have the list of all the proposed projects, and that's what my next step was going to be, was to go through those. So as part of the CDBG program and the home program, there are certain parameters as far as expenditures that can be made. With CDBG, no more than 15% of the annual allocation can be used for public service activities. Typically, the public service activities are dollars that are provided to service agencies in the community that provide benefit to low and moderate income persons that could range from providing them with food, helping them with their rent, helping them get into some type of job training program, those types of activities that are geared more towards individuals. In addition to the 15% for public services, no more than 20% of the allocation can be used for administrative purposes. And that is providing dollars to the municipality, typically for them to be able to pay staff to monitor the program, go through the process of making sure that when an application is received with a request for dollars, that those dollars are properly expended for whatever the project was that was the funds were being asked for. And then the balance of those dollars are for any type of activity that could be street reconstruction. A nonprofit may have a building that they provide services for low-income persons out of, that they need to do improvements to the building to be able to continue the services that they are providing. Then in regard to the home program, no more than 10% of the home dollars can be used for admin. 15% is used for what is called community housing development organizations set aside.
Must be used.
Pardon?
Must be used.
It must be used, yes, for a nonprofit organization that meets certain requirements to be able to receive home dollars to do a project. I will qualify that by saying that if the dollars that the city receives in home are so oversubscribed, meaning there are so many developers coming and asking for home dollars to do projects, that a nonprofit could not get any of those dollars because they're all taken up. The Chodo set aside is there to allow a nonprofit to qualify as a Chodo, and they have access to at least that 15% set aside to be able to do some type of housing project.
Could you run by that again? I didn't follow.
It does get very confusing. With the Chodo set aside, it is set aside dollars for nonprofits that meet certain requirements to be able to obtain home dollars to do a housing type project. Oftentimes there are, and if there was not the Chodo set aside requirement, oftentimes a municipality's home dollars are so oversubscribed by other for-profit businesses that are developing housing. These dollars are set aside specifically for that purpose.
Oh, you're just explaining why there is a CHODO.
Yeah. Now, there was a recent change in the rules that if a municipality does not have a CHODO and has not committed their CHODO dollars within 2 years of their signing of their grant agreement with HUD, they can ask permission from HUD that those dollars be turned into regular home dollars. CHODOs become very difficult to find because organizations don't particularly wish to go through all the requirements to become a CHODO. So municipalities oftentimes have difficulties in spending those dollars.
It's not the case without Tim, is it?
No, sir.
Ida is a CHODO, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So we've talked about the set-asides for CDBG, we've talked about the set-asides for the home program, and now we'll get into the projects. So with CDBG for the FY25 CDBG year, the city is looking at $28,700 for admin.
You mean 287?
287,000, I'm sorry.
Let's make sure.
D-
We're not going to get very far.
Fair housing activities of 30,000, which relate to if someone tries to rent an apartment and they're discriminated against, there's a process for them to receive assistance. Single-family rehabilitation loan program, 400,000. Single-family owner-occupied emergency repair program of 50,000. An emergency roof repair program of 110,000. Street reconstruction.
Close that a little bit, please.
Sure.
Roof repair, emergency roof repair, 110?
110.
Okay, got it.
Street reconstruction of 200,000. We've talked a bit about the 8th Street sidewalk project. There is 415,000 set aside for that project this year. Operation Safe Space, 500,000.
5,000.
5,000.
Pressure's on.
It is. Salvation Army, assistance with rent, utility, and heating. This is one of those public service type activities, 25,000. Overflow Church Meal Program, 33,000. Overflow Church Warming Center, 49,000. The Railroaders Memorial Museum restoration of the Railroad Alto Tower, 10,000. And those are the activities related to CDBG. Looking at the home program, there is 26,000 in home dollars for admin, 131,000 for rental rehabilitation, and 108,000 for the Idacon Fairview building kitchen replacement.
Say that again.
The Idacon Fairview building kitchen replacement project.
And that's part of IDA CDC,
Yeah.
I
the
helped-
CHODO.
I helped with that project.
Well-
I was working as a construction worker.
I want to make it clear for the television.
For a grand total of $1,882,862, and that's 73 cents that we have to account for.
Could you talk about the 8th Street sidewalk project? Is that on both sides of 8th Street? Does it not
Can,
include 7th Street?
it does not include 7th Street. It's 8th Street. Our intention was to start this out in phases. So we allocated 2023 funds to do a first phase. Long story short, the new census data came in. We had to do an income survey because that dropped below the low mod threshold.
Below?
It did, and I think
You mean it was too, people were
it
too
used to
rich or
be
not rich enough?
too rich. So it 10 years ago, it was like 88% low mod or something to that, or 82. And it came in at 50.79. I think it's just because people did not respond to the census in that area. So we did a door-to-door survey, and it came in at 62%, and that's where we had to count vacant units and non-responsive units as over income. So it probably is a higher number, but we did make it qualify for the whole area where it needs to be done, which is both sides of the street from 6th Avenue to Crawford Avenue. Because of that delay, we also have money in the 25-year here, and we're doing the amendment to the 24-year, and we're just going to bid it at once, and hopefully we'll get most of it done. But it's an expensive project. It will be rated, so we'll do what we can.
You prevailed, man.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
So does that apply to 7th Street also?
At 7th Street will have to be another survey.
Really?
This,
Can somebody just walk up the street and look and can you see that
We've been trying to get Dave to do that, but
I mean,
it doesn't go with the HUD rules.
it's not my decision.
you know what I'm
And
saying?
this,
No, I realize. But it's not-
It's completely, this is what we do have to do for the CDBG program. Unfortunately, common sense does say that the area qualifies, but because the census did not reveal, the way it works is they undertake the census, and then it takes a couple years for us to get numbers from HUD. There's a formula they apply, and I just think there are a number of block groups that are census tract areas that dropped out this time, and I'm certain it's for non-response.
You mean people didn't respond?
They
to the
didn't
census?
respond to the
Yeah.
census.
Not to your survey?
No,
the census?
the census.
actually both.
Both. Yeah, I mean, we had to work hard to get our survey completed.
But this is a good segue into some of the additional requirements with the CDBG program. The CDBG program is for low and moderate income persons. So if you're looking at an activity like 8th Street, that is what is called an area benefit. So you're looking at a specific area to determine whether or not it's eligible. And at least 51% of the residents in that area have to be low and moderate income. It could be by census, which previously on 8th Street it was, but because the census data showed that there was not the percentage we were looking at as a need, is why we had to do a survey to qualify the area to be able to do that project.
It was over 50%, but it has to be 51%?
It has to be 51%
You can't
or
round it.
greater.
Well, it would seem like, intuitively speaking, it would seem like over 50% would be the mark.
It's because 51 is a majority. 50 is 50-50. So
50 point something is what it was.
I agree with you, but they don't. So we have to go with their rules.
And actually, if an area were 49%, you would have to do a survey to qualify it to see if it actually did go above 51. And that is a rule that's been in place forever, that,
Well, I can see 49, but
Yeah.
50 point something, that's over half.
I know, but that's just the way they
You might want a little margin.
Yeah.
yeah, they make you do it.
And then there are activities that need to be 100%, meaning that if you're doing a direct benefit service to someone, say, someone that Jim is working with to have their housing rehabilitated, you're looking at source documentation to prove that within the HUD guidelines of income, they are at or below those dollar amounts.
Basically, individual situations.
Individuals, yes, so.
What is the, I know low to moderate income out of LTM for many years, but what is the, what does low, where's the cutoff from low to moderate income to above that?
So what it is like you have a median income that that they extrapolate as well through a formula for the county or in the city, the metropolitan area, whatever, Altoona's MSA. And then they determine, so 50% is sort of, and then they, for the CDBG program, 80% of the median and below. So median is like 100%, let's just say, and 80% of the median is considered eligible.
For the modern.
Yeah.
In
That's
your,
federal median income.
Yeah, but they give you a formula, they send these out to you on an annual basis
And it would change depending
by
on situation and
by household size.
and household size. So when HUD provides the income guidelines for a municipality, it's broken down at 30%, 50%, and 80%. So if someone is at 80%, they still qualify for assistance with the CDBG program. And it is also based on household size. So for discussion purposes, if someone is at 80% and it's a one-person household, their income could be $40,000 a year and qualify. If it were a two-person household, their income would probably be somewhere around $45,000 to qualify. And it goes up from there to an 8-person household that they provide the numbers for. And then they give you an add-on number for households above 8.
This project, or the sidewalks, what's gonna happen with the trees? Are they gonna
They're
cut down all the trees?
they're going to cut the trees down and make it walkable because they've heaved up the sidewalk.
Right, yeah. I mean, they've done that they started doing that like 20 years ago or so.
Well, we just need to repair these sidewalks.
They were, sidewalks were put in by the city project in 1980.
I think it was like 1983 or something. Was it
a city
way back?
It was a while ago, I can't recall the year.
Early 80s is what I think. Yeah, it was almost before Adam was born.
Yeah, I think Jim probably is the only one who remembers when it was done.
Did you pick 8th Street as opposed to 7th for a particular reason? Or,
We're just starting there.
I mean, it was arbitrarily starting with 8th.
Uh,
They're the same situation.
It's the same situation. It costs a lot of money. We can't do it all at one time. So we're hoping we can come back and do 7th Street. But it just depends on if we keep getting CDBG money, and we have to stack the money to make it possible. I mean, we'll have to do another income survey for 7th Street.
And do you have you're hoping that the money that you allocated for 8th Street this year, along with the additional from 24, is going to be
23, 24, 25 would be enough to complete it, but might not be. I mean, it's expensive. It's just an expensive project.
And how much total is dedicated to this?
I don't have the number in front of me.
The project?
400,000.
For this year, it's
25.
400, but when what's in 24 in the amendment?
Yeah, if you can give me the total amount,
I can get it to you later, if you don't
I'm
mind.
going to do this for the moment.
Oh,
Yeah, I think it is about 800,000.
it's probably close to 800,000. And I think that's about what they had requested from us for a number of years, like 900,000 to do this, the public works.
Public Works.
And so that's unspent money from 23, 24, and then this year's too.
Yeah, I mean, basically, projects were completed and there was funding left over.
Have there been a lot of complaints about that? I mean, I've kind of heard it just myself, but would you agree that there's been lots of complaints about that? Not to this department.
I think they hear about it a lot. It's used, it's been a sticking point for a number of years, you know, and it just needs to be addressed. It's just, the only way we could do it was by multi-year funding.
I know I used to ask Mary every time, but I'll ask you guys why. besides that, I guess, anything unusual about this year's annual plan? You know, things left out or things added that are different than?
Well, I did provide handouts, you'll see in the summary of requests and how they break down. If you take these handouts, we had some projects that weren't funded for various reasons. Mostly it's public service where it's difficult to prove that to track low-income benefit, or it was not an eligible activity under CDBG. I don't want
What
to.
do you mean difficult to track low income?
Some of the activities require us to document income.
Okay.
And if we can't document the income, even through self-certification in a satisfactory way, it can't be accepted. And it just becomes very difficult, and it's putting it at risk of us having to repay the funds.
Can you give me an example of that sort of thing happening, where you?
Well, so for example, if you have a kind of a regional activity, it's located here, but there may be various, I don't really want to pinpoint it, but let's just say some of the programs might not want to share exactly. Some of the programs have clients where that income is not necessarily shared, you know, so we can't get the true certification completed. Or if you have to document people who like young people whose parents would have to fill out the form, but you don't know if they will fill out the form because there's no structure there. Or let's say it's an ineligible activity, they want to buy equipment, and we can't purchase that type of small equipment. Those are the types of things. They're not bad projects, they're great projects, but we don't want to put the program at risk or them at risk.
And when you're looking at the income, if you're doing something like providing rent assistance, because it's a significant amount of dollars, it could be, you know, $800 or $1,000 a client needs. You need to verify with source documentation that they are low and moderate income, paycheck stubs, things like that. Whereas if it's a feeding program where you're giving them a bag of groceries, which, you know, once upon a time might have been $25, but today it might be $125, you can do a self-certification, which basically says, for the number of persons in my household, my income is at or below this dollar
You
amount.
just asked them, basically.
Yeah, but you do need to verify it on a piece of paper
And
and,
you sign it.
and sign it. And
Even
sometimes.
if it's just a modest amount of money involved.
Right. And sometimes folks do not want to do that, and because we can't get that documentation, then we can't necessarily approve the project.
Some folks didn't even want to take the survey, so.
What
For 8th Street, so.
Somebody like you come around to my house. Stand in the-
Well, we should have considered who we sent.
They talk.
But otherwise, I think that it's pretty standard this year.
And we're waiting for Congress to make a decision on next year as far as what the allocations will be.
Yeah, I guess the administration recommended zeroing it out. That's another thing we're concerned about.
Trump administration recommended zeroing the program at CDBG.
But the Congress has not proposed that. Okay, so that changes. There's still mid-budget negotiation, right? But from what I could tell, it looks like both the House and the Senate have proposed funding it. It's just, right now is such a odd year. If you want to ask what's odd this year, it's the new environment, political environment.
Actually, I've been around this for close to 40 years, and just about every administration, whether they're Republican or Democrat, when they come in, this is a program they look to eliminate. But because typically it's always been Congress knows that these dollars mean so much to their constituents, they've not allowed it to happen. Now, right now, we're looking at a zero cut in home, which may very well come to pass because there's a lot of old home money
At no cutting, or.
zeroing out home for the coming,
Altogether.
yeah, altogether.
And it was a drastic cut, I believe it was $60,000 from last year that was reduced. We had 340 last year at the top of my head.
But next year, they're
So
looking
you're
at,
saying next year it's a
they're looking at
possibility that
zeroing out the home
home will be-
program.
home will be eliminated.
Yes. Only, and I think a big part of that is related to, there's an awful lot of home money still unspent from years past.
And I don't want to toot our horn, but the city's been good about managing their home funds.
Thank you.
And I'm tooting his horn. So for us, it's almost unfair, but it's more of it's a little more technical program, and other places have struggled, I guess.
Well, the 25 money is in hand.
It's in place,
Okay, so you're talking about
26.
the potential of.
Next year.
administration asking for this to be eliminated, for CDBG and home to be eliminated for next year, but you think Congress will hold the line on CDBG?
Yes.
May not on home.
Right.
And I guess since HUD has 45 days back to our current year to review, we'll submit this by August 15th. So that would take us to about October for their review, and then you go through contracting. So I guess we'll probably, assuming nothing crazy happens, see contracts, November?
Something like that, yes.
So we're a lot later this year.
A lot later.
Okay.
Welcome.
I have some questions on some other stuff. I don't know,
Is this about CDBG?
no.
So can we stop the hearing and then you can ask us after the hearing?
You can do anything.
Yeah, I think that if it's not CDBG or home, I think that we'll answer it outside of that.
So we can conclude the public hearing now, and then it's up to you if you want to have the other questions.
Yeah,
on
we
the-
can conclude the public hearing and the broadcast, and then afterwards, we'll be happy to answer questions.